to another video, guys. And in today's video, I'm going to be doing an MPL Philippines Season 15 tier list for the teams. This is actually coming out a week after the season started, so I'm a bit late, but basically going to be doing this tier list for reference when the season ends to see, if I got the things right or wrong. Basically, I'm going to be doing this based on who I think will win. I'll tell you guys who I think will win at the end of the season. And yeah, I just think S tier is best of the best, top two contenders. A tier would be three to fourth or even fifth. And then B tier would be, maybe dark horse. And then C tier and D tier would be like towards the bottom. I don't actually think there's any like horrible teams in Philippines, but I do think there are some weak links, which should be self-explanatory. If you look at like the rosters and the gameplay we've seen so far. But yeah, let's start off with Aurora, which Aurora beat Onic, and then they beat, who did Aurora beat? They beat AP Bren literally today at the time of this recording. And then who did they face first? I think they beat, I'm blanking out. You guys can let me know in the comment, but they beat a team. Um, so yeah, Aurora is going into S tier. I mean, Aurora just I don't know. I think Aurora, in my opinion, this team is incredible when they play well. Like Aurora is really inconsistent. A lot of people call them the most consistent, inconsistent team ever. And it's true because this team can lose to literally anyone, but then they can make Onic look like noobs. So it's really weird, but I do think this time around, this season, they do have more discipline based on their gameplay, and I do think their macro is honestly the highest that it can be in professional Mobile Legends. Like Aurora's macro is actually like incredible. I think it's the best macro that I've seen personally in the whole entire league. Honestly, in the world, like their macro is insane. They out macro pretty much every single team that they've faced. They've out macroed them. Even in their losses, like they still are out macroing their enemies. It's just the micro decisions that really cost them the game. But yeah, like Aurora, I think that they need to work mainly on not throwing because this team does like to throw quite a bit. We saw that against AP Brent today in game one. It could have been a clean 2-0 sweep, but they decided to throw. And I think that, in playoffs, you cannot afford to like give up games because, you know, you can't take that for granted. You may not get those opportunities back again. So I think Aurora just needs to work on the discipline. But other than that, this team is incredible. I think they have a top two, top three, top one player in every single role. I think Renegade is one of the best roams in the world. I think Dome Kite looks like the best gold laner alongside like Oheb. Demon Kite looks incredible. Edward, Mr. Consistent, the best XP laner of all time for a reason. I mean, Edward can literally play anything and everything, and he makes it look so he's just good on everything. So yeah, this team should, if they play how they've been playing, this team should win the whole thing. And I do think that they will make finals. Next team is Smart Omega. I think this team can be a dark horse. I think Omega, I don't have that many high expectations from this team. I think that a lot of their drafts have been kind of bad, and I just think that they do just look a bit off when it comes to like the decision making. Their team fighting isn't the best, but to be fair, this is like a relatively new team, so we have to give them time. But you know, I think they can cause upsets. I mean, this is the team that is like known for upsets. I mean, last season they beat Onic when nobody really expected it. I do think they have a solid team. Like again, as I said before, like um I don't think there's any bad team in Philippines. Yeah. Also, by the way, like I was recording this video and like 5 minutes worth of like footage like cut out because like I got a call. So yeah, I got a call, so like 5 minutes of footage like cut out, so I had to restart the video. So some of the initial information that I said at the beginning of the video, I actually didn't say because I said that in my previous recording. But I'm trying my hardest to remember some of the things if I said something like really important. But yeah, next up we have Onic. Now I have to put Onic in S tier. I think that Onic is just an incredible team. I think even though they are losing like quite a bit, this team is still the defending champions. They still are. three-time they've won 3 trophies in a row, right? They won MPL last season, beaten Aurora in finals. They went to M6, they dominated M6. They went to Snapdragon, they dominated Snapdragon. And to be fair, the season just started, right? Like basically for me, I think there's two sides. If you're an Audich fan, you cope and say the season just started, we're experimenting, we're burned out because of how many like competitions we've had to compete in. And on the other side is like the actual honest Onyx fan, where it's like we're just not playing good. We're getting outdrafted. Our gold laner, our XP laner are getting gapped consistently. And to be honest, I'm a mix of both, but I'm towards like the other side, like the more serious side. I do think Onyx is just playing worse. I think that the teams have kind of just studied their gameplay. I think that for the longest time, I've always said this, but like shutting down Super Prince and Kelra in the early game and making sure they don't have an opportunity to really shine in team fights is the key success on shutting down Onyx. Like I've been saying it for the longest time because if you don't shut down Super Friends, if you don't shut down Kara, they will make something happen out of nothing. They will just make magic because those two are the smartest players in the world. Like when it comes to just like intelligence on how to play the game, they're really intelligent. And we saw Aurora read them out super well. I also do just think Kirk is individually playing really, really poorly. I've always said that Kirk is like the weakest on the team, even though Kirk is incredible. But that just goes to show how like highly this team is expected to perform at the absolute best of the best level. Like this team is supposed to win, right? This team coming into this season, people didn't even give other teams a chance. Or like, yeah, Onyx gonna destroy everybody, and that can still be true. We're not in playoffs. I still think standings matter, but at the end of the day, people will remember who won playoffs. But I do think that the regular season does show a glimpse of how you will perform in playoffs, and I think that Onyx, I think that they have to change like the way they approach the game at this point because it is getting stagnant. It is getting pretty basic. You at this point, pretty much majority of the teams in Philippines should be able to like take games off of Onyx based on what we've seen. So yeah, I don't think there's realistically, I only think there's actually 3 to maybe 4 teams that could beat them. Um, and you guys will see at the end, like towards the like as the video goes on, who I think those teams are, but it should be pretty self-explanatory. Next up, we have Falcons, and I have to put Falcons in S tier. Um, actually, I'm gonna put Falcons in A tier. I think Falcons is a really good team, but I don't know. Falcons is really weird to me. I don't think they have the ceiling. Like, I don't think they have the ceiling like Aurora or Onyx, but I do think that this team when they do play good, I mean, we saw it today. They beat Onyx. They reverse swept them. This team is still dangerous. They are world champions for a reason. And Super Marco gapped Kelra. Like that was one of the biggest gaps I've ever seen. Like he was gapping Kelra, Granger versus Irithyll. Like I don't think people understand how insane that is. But this team, they got destroyed by Team Liquid and then they beat Onyx. So it's like they're pretty like so far they are inconsistent by definition, but like I do think this team is really, really good. I would not be surprised if by the end of the season they do win everything. They do win it all because the crop of players that Falcons have, I mean, these are literally some of the greatest players of all time on this team. You have, you know, Kyle Teasy, absolutely incredible. You have Few, you have Super Marco, you have Flap Teasy, you have Ogwen. Like you have in every single role some of the greatest players to have ever touched the game. But I don't know. I feel there's something missing with this team. I feel if they can find consistency, the battle towards the top will be really, really competitive. So yeah. Next up, we have Team Liquid Philippines. I said to myself at the beginning of the video, I'm gonna only put 2 teams in each spot. But man, is this one difficult because I think Team Liquid could win everything. I think they could win. I think they could win MPL, right? But it's really hard because in a best of 7 versus Aurora and Onyx, I do favor Aurora and Onyx over them. But I do favor them over Falcons in a best of 7. But it's really, really close. Like the top 4 are really competitive. So yeah, I think Team Liquid Philippines has incredible players. I think in every single role. They all shine bright. I don't think there's a weak link. Their macro is really, really solid. Their micro is really, really solid. Their team fighting is insanely good. Their vision setups, their rotations, their understanding of timers and how to invade and kind of cross map when the enemy team gets a trade, I think is just really, really high. And honestly, if Team Liquid faces Onyx right now, guys, I'm not gonna lie, Team Liquid might 2-0 them because what we saw versus Falcons was like complete and utter domination. Like they were dominating Falcons like through two games. Just incredible stuff from Team Liquid. And they do have the cleanest record so far. They haven't lost a single game, which will obviously like that will be broken because there's no team that will go undefeated in Philippines. But for now, they hold that record. So yeah. Next up, we have TNC. I'm gonna put TNC in B tier, and then I'm gonna put Twisted Minds in C tier. I'm gonna talk about Twisted Minds real quick. There's not much to talk about. I think this will just be the worst team in the league. Um, I think this team is good. They're solid, but they're not really expected to do anything crazy, crazy, at least in my opinion. I don't think this team is gonna make playoffs. I'd be very, very shocked if they do make playoffs. But of course, this anything can happen in Philippines. I just don't think they have the firepower. I think their drafts are pretty awful, and I just don't think their players are that individually. I don't think they're that mechanically gifted to push them over the edge versus the other top two teams. And last place we have AP Brand, which this is not AP Brand, it's Team Liquid, but I don't know why they have two Team Liquids, but we'll just count this as AP Brand. I think AP Brand is, yeah, guys, I'm not gonna lie, AP Brand is not horrible. I mean, they did beat Aurora, even though Aurora did throw, cough, cough, classic Aurora, but they did end up winning, so you have to give them props. But yeah, I think is the tier list. If I had to say this, I think this is a very, very fair tier list. Some exceptions that I could see is TNC maybe moving up to A tier if they find consistency. Team Liquid and Falcons going up to S tier. Maybe Aurora going down and Onyx going down if they're inconsistent. But yeah, for playoffs, I do think TNC, Omega, Falcons, Team Liquid, Onyx, Aurora will make playoffs. And if that playoffs is how it should be, or how I at least expect it to be, I think this will be the greatest MPL season ever. I think it will be the most competitive because I genuinely believe there's four teams that could win it all. And I actually believe if TNC is consistent and they improve drastically from here on until playoffs, I think this team could be an insane dark horse. I mean, we saw them go really, really they were competitive with Onyx. I think this team is actually very, very promising. So even TNC maybe could win it all in the end. Omega, I really doubt it. Like I think Omega has like a 5% chance of winning it all. I think it's very, very unlikely, especially due to the fact that you have to win a best of seven in order to win MPL. So I just don't think they're that capable. But I think the top four will be Falcons, Team Liquid, Onyx, and Aurora. I think the team that will finish in fourth place, I think honestly, guys, I think it's Falcons. I think Falcons is an incredible team, and yes, they could win it all. But I do think that out of the bunch of these teams, they are the worst. I think they'll honestly, I think Aurora will eliminate them. I think Onyx will eliminate them, and I think Team Liquid will eliminate them. But I do think all of those series could go the distance, especially Onyx. I think Falcons versus Onyx is actually like always close. They always play like really, really competitively. Um, so yeah, I think that's that. And then for third place, I think Team Liquid will get third place, honestly. I think they'll barely lose to either Aurora or Onyx. And that does mean we're getting an Aurora versus Onyx rematch this time. And this time, I'm gonna give it to Aurora. I think Aurora this time around is different. I think that in every aspect of the game, I think Aurora is better than Onyx. And I think if both teams play at their absolute best, so that means Edward is playing at his absolute best, Kirk is playing at his absolute best. I think Aurora does win lane by lane because I think Edward is much better than Kirk. I think that Renegade is better than Brusco. I think that Demon Kite can be better than King Kong, and I think Dome and Kite this season will be better than Kelra. And I do think Super Prince is not on the level of UA this season so far. Um, this could just be biased because I am an Aurora fan, but I do believe this time around they will win. Because think about it, guys. Like Aurora almost beat Onic, and the only reason they didn't win that finals was because they threw. Like they made a bad judgment call. Edward ulted into the base when they should have just waited to sink waves. But like that was their first time being together. Like this team is fairly new. They're rookies, right? Like this is a super team, but like a lot of these players are really, really new. So the fact that they're showing this level of like skill at this stages in their career is very, very impressive. So I think Aurora will win. I'll be very disappointed if they don't win because I think this team is really, really incredible. And I think Aurora's a late game team. I've always said this, but Aurora is a team that in series they need to scale because sometimes Aurora will drop game one or game two, or they'll play really, really bad. They'll make a throw, and that's why they need multiple games to really display why they're like so incredibly good. I think that was one of the reasons why they kind of just completely got like destroyed at M6. I mean, it was one of the biggest like disappointments ever. Especially like the rumors that they were gonna like beat everybody. I think that this team needs multiple games to really show that they are about that, you know? I wouldn't be shocked if a team in the playoffs starts on 1-0, 2-0 up against Aurora, and Aurora just comes back because this team is really momentum based. So if they start winning, they will not stop, right? And again, it's all about discipline. But again, Onic could win because Onic individually is just as good as Aurora, honestly, is just as good as Aurora, and some of the players can even perform better than their lane counterparts. So this is my opinion. I'll be making an updated video when the season actually ends. But yeah, let me know what you guys want to see. Weekly like reviews on the games. I'm definitely gonna be watching every single team, every single game. I'm gonna be analyzing everything, drafts, mechanics, micro, macro, everything because I want to do like a weekly like review on how the teams are performing. And yeah, this is my opinion. And let me know if you guys disagree or agree. Let me know why down in the comment section below. But if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And I'm gonna be trying to upload more, but I'm not gonna promise because sometimes I just either don't want to do it or I don't have time. Or honestly, I'm just burned out because I've done so many tier lists, but I think tier lists are actually just like so fun to make. And yeah, I just love yapping. So yeah. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys. I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.